What's going on, family? This is G with the Black Business Clique, and you are tuned in to the Black Business Clique podcast. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate everyone listening, watching, and everyone that's showing love, man. We really appreciate that. It is the Black Business Month, so make sure y'all do your thing. Y'all check out and support some of those Black businesses out here. But right now, it's not about that. We have a special guest, a very, very, very special guest, somebody very near and dear to my family and our hearts. Our previous episode, we spoke about real estate, and we feel the best way to follow that up is to bring a real estate professional who works with a lot of first-time home buyers with the NACA program, a program that we're very familiar with. So we wanted to bring her on to bless the listeners, to put a lot of game. We like to put a lot of information out there. We like to put a lot of game out there. And this is literally a life-changing program if you do your due diligence and make sure that you go through the following steps and connect with somebody like my guest, the one and only Miss Morgan Brown.
How you doing? How you doing, Glenn?
What's going on, Miss Morgan? How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Of course, of course. So really excited to have you here. Really excited for you to bless our show. We like to tell the people we're not in the studio. We right here in the living room. This is literally what we're filming. And you kind of helped us get here. You kind of put all this in motion. So, kudos to you. What you do is very, very, very much appreciated. The impact that you have on a lot of people's lives is monumental. So I just wanted to, I like to give people their flowers while they're here. So again, a lot of the work that you do is a beautiful thing. So thank you again. My wife and I, we love you. And we wanted to have you on just to kind of share some good information with our listeners, with our viewers, with our people, because I think this is with the Black Business Clique, with the Black Business Clique, we always focus on Black wealth, Black love, Black empowerment. And we like to speak with people and connect with people that we feel like personify all three. You know what I mean? I definitely think that you're somebody that does all three, obviously. So we wanted to follow up and bless the people with some good information. So what is it and why should somebody want to join?
So what is NACA?
Right.
So NACA is a home ownership program that is no down payment, no closing costs, no PMI, no private mortgage insurance. We cover all, the lender covers all of the agent fees, settlement fees, closing costs, title fees. You would want to come through the program because we do not consider credit score. So we do look at credit history, but you can come in with a 320 if that's the thing. But you can come in with a 320 and get a house through NACA. We do not require you to pay off collection accounts if they're over 2 years old. Okay. If you have charge off, you're not required to pay them. So if you got a repossession of $50K, for a car and it's over 2 years old, you can still get a house. We're not looking at, the biggest thing that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I got X, Y, and Z student loans.
I knew to say student loans.
We're not trimming over student loans. You can come in with student loans and you can still get qualified at NACA. The great thing behind how NACA was created, it was created to prevent what we call blockbusting and redlining, which specifically is
pay attention. Pay attention.
This is when you have either, and there's two different things that happen. When you have, Mr. Real Estate Agent and Mr. Homebuyer, Mr. Potential Homebuyer, and he's saying to the real estate agent is saying to Mr. Homebuyer, let's just say they're Caucasian, and he's saying, hey, you don't want to live here because people that aren't Caucasian live here. There's a lot of Black people that live here. So let's move you over here. Or you have Mr. Real Estate Agent say to Mr. Black guy, hey, we're not going to look at houses over here. I'm going to have you look at houses over here because this is more what you can afford, or this is more what you're looking for. Not necessarily really much giving him that information that I don't want to put you over here because there's people that don't look like you over here. Right. And so that's what NACA actually was designed to kind of stop in a sense. The subprime mortgages, giving these extremely high interest rates that, giving these loans and these high interest rates out to people that they know that the only thing it's going to do is make them upside down in their mortgage. And upside down the mortgage, meaning you're paying so much in interest that what you paid off, you haven't even begun to pay down your mortgage.
Right.
So, we have something set up what we call priority and non-priority members where, while yes, it's a great program because you can purchase wherever you want to purchase, but it keeps the rich from being able to buy up everything in the rich neighborhoods. It keeps that low to moderate income earner, gives them the opportunity to be able to purchase in a neighborhood that normally is getting bought up by everybody, everybody who's an excessive income earner, high income earner, now is giving the opportunity for the little guy to be able to live, in these nice rich neighborhoods too.
Everybody deserves a shot, right? And another thing too, just to kind of piggyback off of that, from a value perspective, a home value perspective, house value, you can't even get it out. In regards to redlining, that obviously plays a huge factor in that too. So that's major. I'm hoping everybody's really paying attention. You got your pen and paper out. You're really paying attention to what Morgan is saying. There's a lot of good information. I'm pro NACA. I went through the program, both my wife and I. It's not easy. It's not for the faint. It's not for the faint. Can you speak a little bit to the actual process? Because I have quite a few people close to me that knew about the program. They didn't tell us about the program. They knew about the program. They were going through the program, but they never completed the program. Why are people not completing the program, in your opinion?
So that happens a lot. So let me speak to right now. What is this, August 2021? Excuse me. NACA is exploding in people knowing about it. So it's a very sought out program. So as of right now, appointments are booked up to actually start the process.
Next year.
Well, for me, they're booked up till the end of November. So that becomes, so let me start off saying that's the number one discouragement, is when people are like, oh, we'll have to wait. Like, I can't get an appointment until, like, why can't, unfortunately, the wait is worth the wait. It is worth the wait.
But then, mind you, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, when they're making that first initial contact and they try to get that appointment, they're not ready to buy no house right then and there.
Yeah.
So it's easy to walk away when, you know what I mean, when you're not ready. So you gotta, all good things come with a challenge.
And so that becomes, the discouraging part is, so let's say, Mr. Todd just say, all right, I want to start the process. Then it's today. All right, cool. We get you your appointment for November, but when you come in November, the requirements that we have or the things that we say you need to have in preparation, you don't have that. There's certain things I need. 30 days bank statements. I'm sorry, 90 days bank statements, 30 days pay stubs, 90 days credit card statements, tax returns for the last 2 years, tax transcripts, any benefits you may receive, any benefits letters for any benefits you may receive. These are things that are required documents to start processing your file. Then even then, I still have to review your file to see if there's anything else that's needed. Now, in the average process, if it's still more stuff needed, we have to schedule follow-up. Follow-ups, again, probably are a month to 2 months on out. So this becomes the discouraging part for people, is when it's like, oh, well, I came, I had all my stuff, but I still have to wait. Like, if you didn't have all your stuff, yes, unfortunately, we have to process your file, so you do have to wait. And so that becomes very discouraging to people. So I always tell people that, if you're starting the NACA process and like you are somewhat social media savvy, go on your Facebook, follow NACA on Facebook, go to the Facebook unofficial group, the Facebook official group. You have people who are going through the process right now, and they, you can ask your questions. They break down like all of those things that maybe you may want to ask your mortgage counselor, who you can't get to just yet because you're still waiting for your appointment. They can have you fully prepped. Like, I've had people start the process. They were on those NACA Facebook groups. And I mean, I always know when somebody's on a Facebook group, because like when I look at their file, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not even, when we have letters, certain letters that you have to write that are just NACA requirements. When I see the format and all that, I'm like, okay, you're on the group. And I've had people start and literally come starting, and I'm looking at their file, and I'm like, I can submit this for qualification today if I get your rental verification and employment verification. So I've had somebody start, get qualified within a week, and start shopping the next day. I mean, some people are actually just happen to be really prepared. So I've actually had somebody start, get qualified in a week, I already know the house they wanted to get in contract and got in contract that next day
so
after
they're
getting
prepared.
qualified and closed within, I want to say from start to finish, it was 60 days.
Wow.
I've had that happen. So it's possible.
Yeah.
It is possible. Now, if you're trying to purchase something and have a monthly payment that's higher than what you're paying rent, your process is going to take, just to start to get qualified, it's going to take you a minimum of 3 months. But that becomes the biggest downfall, is the time part. There's the average NACA process from start to qualification. The average process is anywhere between 1 month to, I'll say, 4 to 6 months. That's just on average. Again, if you're trying to qualify at rent or get, qualified having a monthly payment at rent, then, you can probably get there between 1 to 3 months. And that's the other thing, is understanding the difference between, coming in to a regular, conventional FHA or VA loan and a NACA mortgage. We qualify you based on a monthly payment, not a total loan amount.
Huge
so understanding the difference. I say download a Zillow calculator. Download a Zillow calculator, because if you want to understand what that even means, like, what does that even mean? And I get that. I thought that when I first started working there too. I'm like, how can I tell somebody what they can go purchase by saying $1,600 a month? Download a mortgage calculator and put in $1,600 a month. I'm like, oh, okay. That's how much of a house I can get with a $1,600 monthly payment.
And what I enjoy about the program, because it kind of saves your butt, it's a good insurance policy. For one, because you're getting all that information prepared, which you should be anyway, especially if you're an adult, working adult, you got kids, you got to have all those ducks in a row anyway. But the fact that they're not going to let you go in too deep with your purchase, which a lot of people do. They go in, they go into their first house, they fall in love with their first house. And I want to put an offer in, knowing you can't afford this house. And you might be able to afford it for the first 6 months. But everybody knows things happen. Things happen around the house, breaks, fixes, emergency, life happens. And then now you're in too deep. So the beautiful thing about NACA, again, they're not going to let you get too in over your head with a house purchase.
And and you say, like, things happening, things breaking, prior to even getting qualified, we have certain stipulations, which one of it is what we call reserves. So on minimum required funds. We want to make sure that before we say, all right, you know what, you're qualified, you're approved, go ahead, start shopping. We want to make sure that you have, normally it's 1 to 3 months, depending on the difference in, what you're already paying in rent. We want to make sure that you have the monthly payment already saved up, just in case something happens when you move in. If you move in, COVID 2.0 hits and you're not working, we want to make sure that you got some money saved up already before we say, yeah, you can go ahead and start shopping. We want to make sure that you already have the money that you'll need for your insurance, because a lot of people don't know you're required to get homeowners insurance. We want to make sure you have that prior to even shopping. We want to make sure you already get the money for your earnest money deposit, which is like a security deposit. We want to make sure you got that before you start shopping, because I have too many people start the process. And, when I tell them about what we call minimum required funds, which, like I said, it can range anywhere between a couple, 2,000-3,000 to upwards of the 20,000, depending on what you're trying to purchase. You're trying to purchase a multi-unit, because you can purchase multi-units. You're going to need a little bit more money in what we call reserves. But, I have people with $500 in their bank account trying to figure out why they can't start shopping tomorrow. And it's just like, if I put you in a house today, you don't even have your monthly mortgage payment. We want to make sure that you don't move into your house and then all of a sudden, you're coming back to us for foreclosure prevention.
Man, okay. A lot of game. So one of the things that I really caught that I would love for you to elaborate on is, you mentioned a lot of people, you can go through the NACA first time home buyer program, or you can go through a FHA, or you can go through a conventional or even a VA. Why would you choose, I guess, the NACA program or NACA loan over some of the other competitors?
So just to clarify, because you said NACA first time home buyers. So you do not have, you can be a previous homeowner, and purchase through NACA. You just cannot be a current homeowner and purchase a NACA home. The reason why I would say choosing a NACA loan over the other loans. Now, keeping in mind, NACA loans isn't for everybody. So, I've ran into people that it actually may not be in their benefit to purchase a NACA loan. But the reason why I would say, for the average home buyer to go through NACA is because, again, you're saving that money that, that you have to pay in down payment, when you're anywhere from 20 grand to 40, 50 grand. I mean, we're in California, in Sacramento, so
maybe
you're talking about
20%. That's what that is.
So
You got 20%.
I mean, we're talking about the smaller houses.
Right.
Let's just start
60, 80, 100, 120. That's on average out here.
Yeah. So that money that you would be spending on down payment, you can move into your house and go furnish your house. You know what I mean? You can move into your house and redo stuff in your house. And you don't have to worry about where am I going to find this money at. The other reason with the conventional loans, those actually require higher credit scores. That's the other thing that you think about, the FHA loan also, like some of the restrictions are just a little bit stricter, but again, these all require down payments, and these all look at your credit score. Right. That's why. I mean, it's just like the number one thing that keeps people from starting the process of even looking at a home, outside of the fact of selective privilege, and it just is what it is. We don't teach our people about home ownership. Facts. This isn't something that we teach our kids, like, you need to make sure that you get an education, so you get a good job, so you can pay bills. So you can have we don't teach about the number one ultimate form of wealth.
Absolutely. And it's also, you turning 18, get out of my house.
Yeah.
So, or is I'm 18, I'm getting out this house. Yeah. Which was me. I couldn't wait. I went to the old, so I went born and raised LA, Palmdale, California.
Okay.
As soon as I graduated at 16, I was gone. So I think it was 17, I was gone. I was on a whole other state. I was in Florida. Okay. I couldn't wait to get out.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, me being a father, me being a husband, and now being more, I guess, financial savvy, I'm not gonna have that mentality with my kids. I'm like, no, if you want to go to college, cool, go to college.
Yeah.
But what I recommend is we work in a family business, but you also pick these gems up.
Like generational wealth.
Absolutely. And what I was saying in previous episodes was, it took me to about 28, 30 to kind of get that information. They're going to get it when they're 5 years old. They're already talking about businesses. They're already talking about, oh, Dad, I like that house. I want to build on that house. Cool. I'm going to nurture that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure that they can, okay, let's broom. But that's how it starts. Real estate is the number one wealth generator, starting a business and also the stock market. So if you're not putting those gems into your kids, or even it starts with yourself, it starts with self, putting that information to yourself now, self-educating, so you can give it to your kids. Yeah. You got to start now. Everyone starts somewhere. It took me a long time, but I'm glad I got the information. So now I'm trying to share it with as many people as I can. Hence why we're here today.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it being, I think we're at like generation Y or Z now. That's what they call them, Gen Z kids. But, now how, I guess, for upbringing, it was like, you got to get good grades so you can get into a good college, so you can get a student loan to have to pay it back, and I'm just like, that's, my daughter was asking me, was I going to take out the student loan for? And I'm like, it's 2021. You know what I mean? If you decide that you want to go to college, then, the expectation, obviously, of course, is always great grades, but there's different avenues now, now these days, and making sure that when we talk about the American dream, like the number one ultimate thing about the American dream, and when you have that imagery, is that house with a picket fence. But the thing that we're not instilling on our kids is it's the house. That's the whole thing, is you got to have the house to have that dream. And that's why I say, that privilege of what's being instilled, like, yes, you want to teach that good credit, but why? Why is it? Because that's because what is it for? It's, that house, you're sitting here, you want to get these nice cars and all this other stuff. No, get that nice house to be able to park that car into, because I mean, and again, like I said, that's what NACA teaches you, is, when you're thinking, lining your decks up in a row and thinking like, what comes first or what comes next or what should I do? I mean, I've seen people with $1,000 monthly car payments and, ask me,
killing their wealth.
Yeah, like, hey, well, we're thinking about getting another car. Well, why don't you get your house first?
Right.
Get your house first. Like, if you got it like that,
and the house is gonna pay for that car.
Yeah, get your house first. So, I mean, that is the blessing, of the NACA program, is, again, people I love it when I see my fellow brother and sister come in and they're able to do something that they were never taught that they'd be able to do. Right. They never thought that they would, or, like I said, just like how when I first applied at NACA, started working at NACA, like I didn't quite understand it. But the longer I stayed there, like I grew to love the position that I'm in because I know what it does for people,
Right.
and I know what it does for people, you know. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, even the people outside of us, you know, the people outside of people of color, you know, it's great being able to see anyone who never knew that this was an attainable, you know, an attainable goal to be able to get there.
All right, family, we're back. You have G with the Black Business Clique podcast, and our very special guest, Miss Morgan Brown. And we are chopping it up about NACA. And Morgan is here to give some game out to the people who are interested in being first-time home buyers or returning home buyers if you don't currently own. So when we left off previously in the previous segment was a lot of people, you know, we're Google babies. Whenever we hear something, we go on Google, we check in reviews. What do they say about this? What do they say about that? And NACA doesn't necessarily have a whole bunch of great reviews. Some reviews are good, some are bad, some are in the middle. So we were kind of touching on what are some of those, I guess, some of the complaints that you hear about.
Yeah.
And then how do we fix those complaints?
Yeah. So again, you know, and now just briefly, so time, you know, the complaint is it takes too long. So, you know, again, my biggest suggestion to kind of battle that is, you know, be prepared. Be prepared for that first appointment because, you know, how you show up to that first appointment will determine how long that process is going to take. You know, it could be a matter of you showing up, you know, with all your docs super prepared and, you know, you being able to get yourself streamlined for that qualification process. Second thing that I do here is going to be communication with getting in contact with somebody. Now, that I obviously know, you know, as a consumer or, you know, the member client, that is something you have absolutely no control over. So I get that. You know, my suggestion would be persistent, you know, with trying to get in contact with like member services, you know, reach out to somebody. They're definitely working, you know, on getting, you know, their member services or, you know, what normal people call, you know, customer service, getting more people staff to help with that. I can only speak for myself. I am a very, very responsive counselor. You know, like I give up my cell phone number. So, you know, I'd like to make sure that you can get in contact with me. So at least I can say to the people in Northern Cal, like I got you. You know, outside of that, again, like I said, I just, you know, be persistent with, you know, trying to reach out to member services and keeping in mind that whoever you're assigned to, you know, when you do start, they probably got like 300-400 other people assigned to them too.
Sure.
So yeah, so keep it in mind that while we are trying to do our best to get to you, we got like 100 other people who want us to get back to them too. So, you know, that tends to be you know, one of the complaints is they assume that because, you know, we're assigned your file that like you're the only person that's assigned us. So, you know, keeping that in mind. And then, you know, one of the other biggest things that I may hear is, you know, they're like, oh, you know, we require too many documents. That actually tends to be one of those that the complaints that I hear that I feel like is not as valid. And the reason why I would say that is because at your initial intake, we require bank statements, pay stubs, credit card statements, tax documents. Now, if that is too much paperwork to get a loan,
business.
Yeah, then don't expect that you're going to go anywhere else because all lenders require these documents. Right. And if you don't already have your bank statements for the last 90 days, pay stubs for 30 days, credit card statements and tax returns already like lined up together, then either you, one, it just is what it is, not prepared for home ownership, or two, you have an accountant and therefore you should have your accountant go ahead and help you get a house. But either way, you know, this is something that I feel like is not a big ask. Right. It's just a requirement. So hence, you know, that's one of the things we work with is setting you up, getting you ready for home ownership. Being part of being a homeowner is knowing where your financial docs are, because this is one of the biggest, most important purchases you'll make in your life. So that, you know what I mean? I feel like that's not a big ask at all.
No, I totally agree. And on our previous guest, Vaughn, who was the realtor, one of the key things that I really took away, and I hope a lot of people took away, is like, look, home ownership don't start when you sign those docs, it starts up here. You got to think and act like a homeowner before you become a homeowner.
Yes.
Because it's a process and a half. It's not easy. It's not for the faint. You're gonna have your ups, you're gonna have your downs. It's a roller coaster. And a lot of oftentimes, unless you just got money like that, it's gonna take some time. You're gonna fall in love with something, you ain't gonna get it. You're gonna fall in love with something, you ain't gonna get it. It's all about that persistence and how bad that you really want it. So, what would you say to somebody that's kind of on the fence? They wanna go with NACA, but they're a little hesitant because they may have read some of those reviews and they don't necessarily feel like they can get through the program.
So my suggestion for somebody who's on the fence, I would say start the process.
Mhm.
Start the process. The worst thing that happens is you don't finish it. But I would say don't let someone else's negativity or someone else's bad experience deem and determine how your experience is going to go. Everybody's situation is different.
Right.
You know, like I said, some people come in and are ready. Some people filed bankruptcy last week and still haven't got it discharged yet, so they gotta wait. Everybody's situation is different, so you never know what it was that person who had that negative review was going through that caused it to be a negative experience.
Mm-hmm. Right. So one of the other things too that I love, and this is how we started the program. You can really kind of, I don't want to say finesse because it's legal, but the fact that, and you brought it up earlier, you can purchase a multifamily property through NACA up to 4 doors. I see a lot of people posting that on IG, posting on social media. Oh, this is a hack, housing hack. Go through NACA, get your multi-unit, rent the other 3 out. Do you see a lot of people doing that? What's your thoughts on doing that?
Yeah.
That's something that I tried out. Listen, we were there. We had everything ready to go, but we also have 3 kids. And trying to find something trying to find a multi-unit that accommodates 3 kids and a dog, it's hard, especially in California. It's really hard. So we decided, look, we already went through that whole process with the multi-unit. Let's just focus on the single family. Got what we got. We focus on our businesses, move forward from there. But a lot of people consider it a housing hack. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the multi-unit route is, I mean, like I said, if you can afford it, so here's the thing. If you can afford it and you have the stomach to be a landlord,
Mm-hmm.
or the stomach for management. If you don't have a stomach for management, or you're not a big pool person or whatever, you got to think about if it's for you. But here's what I say is having somebody pay your mortgage for you. I mean, that's, you know what I mean?
I'll take it.
I'll turn it to a new person for that. But no, I mean, that is one of the things one of the perks of what we do. You can get up to a 4-unit. So imagine having a place that has a, $3-4 grand monthly payment. Now, again, we're in California.
Right.
So, I don't know about, good old Atlanta. They might have $2,000, $1,000 monthly. I mean, it just is what it is. Yeah. But you got a $3,000-$4,000 monthly mortgage, out here. You easily can get that paid with 1 or 2 tenants. Why not? That's what we call passive income.
Mm-hmm. Right. So let's say somebody does go that route, but they no longer want to live in the unit or live in the property. Is that against the rules?
That is, yes. It doesn't matter what kind of property you purchase through NACA, you are expected to live in the house for the life of your life. So that means in the instance where you want to move, the expectation is that you sell that NACA home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is a good segue to, I guess, a lot of frequently asked questions that you get just about NACA in general. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people had that multi-unit question. I'm pretty sure people had the question about, well, what if I want to sell my home and move somewhere else?
Yeah.
What are some, I guess, common questions that you normally get about the program?
Can I get another home?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, you can purchase, once you purchase a house through NACA, you can get another house.
And that's the best part for me. Keep that money, put it in another property.
Yeah, you can get another property. Again, the NACA home is expected to be your primary residence.
Mm-hmm.
Just another frequently asked question. If you're married, okay. If you're married, does your spouse have to be on the loan with you? No, if you're married, the spouse does not have to be on the loan with you. But depending on what state you're in, there's certain common law or certain laws behind that. So if you're pending divorce, there's still special rules that go along with that. But if you are in an amicable marriage and you guys are together, you can still purchase a home and the other spouse doesn't have to be on the loan. So like, for instance, if you have a spouse that has arrearages and child support, you can still purchase a home and they not be on a loan, and that does not interfere with you being able to purchase a home because you have a spouse with child support arrearage. Tax debt, a little bit different. Tax tends to be, tax debt is something that can actually attach on your home, and tax liens can take your home. So those tend to be more serious, and we look at those a little bit deeper. Another frequently asked question: how young you have to be? 18. You can purchase a home you can be 18 and have a job, work there for 2 years, and be ready to purchase a home.
And you said, I'm pretty sure you said this earlier, but credit doesn't necessarily matter.
We don't, it's funny because I've had people ask me all the time. They're like, oh, what was my credit score? And, when people ask me that, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, we don't even care. But let me like, because you can. No, we don't care. I don't even look at people's credit scores unless they ask me. I never forget. I never even think to look at it.
Okay. And do you have to make a certain income to go through the program and to buy a house?
So no, we do not have any income requirements nor restrictions. Keeping in mind that what you qualify for is directly based on your income. So while we don't have income requirements, if you only make $20 a month, then we can only qualify you based on your income. So we're 30% of your income, and we're looking at 40% of your debt to income ratio.
Okay, so you bought the debt to income ratio, major. Yeah. That plays a huge role. That's something that a lot of people don't look. I overlook that, going through the process. So what about, and this is something that I thought about doing initially, taking my California salary but using the NACA program in Atlanta. Is that something that you can do?
Yes. So you can purchase in another state. However, again, everything's case by case, but in a situation like that, you would just need to verify that your income can transfer there, or that you already have, like, so if, maybe state benefits, things like that, is a fixed income that's easily transferable, then that is an easier process. If it's based on a job, if it's remote and you can work anywhere, that's easy process. But if you have a job that is at a physical place in the state of California and you want to purchase in Atlanta, you have to be able to verify that you now have employment in the state of Georgia.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let me throw another one at you. Potential housing hack. Something I'm like, man, I wish maybe we would have thought of. But me and my wife, let's say even if we're not married, we're just together, we're fiancés, we're engaged. We both go through the program. I qualify for a multi-unit, she qualifies for a multi-unit. Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay. And is that something, what about if we're both married though?
No.
Okay.
Yes. If you're married, your spouse cannot own a home.
Okay.
So either way, at some point
But what
in time,
about after?
So if you're married, your spouse cannot own a home.
At all?
Yeah, your spouse cannot have another property. No.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to, okay.
So
okay.
here's what I'm gonna say.
I'm trying to think of something.
So here's what. So if you and Tina are engaged, y'all both get qualified, and y'all both purchase a house, just keep in mind that the expectation is that you both live in your residence for the life of the loan. So I don't want to jump all the way too much into that, but just keep in mind that you be traveling in muddy waters in the instance where now one of you isn't.
Okay. So one of the things that I heard was you can buy your house through NACA and you could lease it out. Or if you do live in one of those multi-units and you move out and you're like, I'm gonna just rent out my unit. NACA doesn't come by, they don't check. Is that true?
So I cannot speak specifically to whether they come by and check, but here's what I'm gonna say is that there is a 20 grand tax lien that's attached to it if you get caught, and they can now foreclose on your home. So that's why I say it's like, I don't want to say whether people check, whether people don't check. I'm just saying that you run the risk of that 20, 25 grand and it being foreclosed on.
Okay. Good stuff. So you fired through a lot of information. I mean, you know it like the back of your hand. Obviously, you're a professional, constant professional. When we work together, you're a constant professional. I brag about you highly because I have people that are in process. And they're like, my mortgage counsel ain't doing this, that, and the third. I can't get a hold of this person. Yada, yada, yada. My process with you was flawless. And I really appreciate you for that.
Oh, thank you.
That really helped us out tremendously. And again, you've blessed my family. So you always found me in my book.
Remember, he said that when they had the next cookout.
She coming. Facts, you coming. Trust me. But I guess that's pretty much all that I have for you today. Again, Morgan, we appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of the podcast. Thank you for coming by the house, seeing the house. Thank you for you being you and making an impact on numerous lives. It's very, very, very much appreciated. And thank you. Miss Morgan Brown. This is G with the Black Business Clique. Y'all be good.